In this video, I'm giving an update on my garden plots, the 3 plots I have at the 2 community gardens, showing you some of the lovely wildlife that I've seen, my flowers, and I'm going to be baking some bread for Lughnasadh. So let's get started. I felt like now would be a good time to do a garden update video since I've harvested a bunch of stuff and planted more stuff. So right now I'm standing next to my zinnias, which are almost as tall as me, which the bed is about probably 12 inches high. So this is not from the ground, but still quite tall. Shading out, well, if tomatoes were still back there, they'd be shading out the tomatoes. But let's start at the front of the bed, what I consider to be the front. So at the beginning of the season, there were potatoes here. That's dill that I planted also in between the potatoes. We harvested the potatoes. I have a video about that. And then a little after I harvested the potatoes, I planted watermelons, these little sugar baby watermelons. And I think I have 4. So I have this one, which is getting really big. And then over here I have 3 more, which are a little smaller, but they might be on the same vine, so they may be all kind of using the same resources. This one I feel like is getting closer to being ready because, well, no, that's a stick. Never mind. I've read that they're ready when the little tendril that's closest to the watermelon on the vine gets dry, and I thought this was the dry part, but it's just a piece of mulch. It's just a piece of wood. So when the tendril gets like this, then I think that means the watermelon will be ready. So they get shaded out by the leaves, and they got plenty of space here in this section of the bed. So the bed is 12 feet long. So from that line is 6 feet. So 3 feet roughly. I think I have 4 plants. So I think I maybe plan to get 4, but hopefully they taste good. I'm hoping they taste good. My poor eggplants. They are actually growing. So they look really spindly. Actually, is this one? Yeah, this one. This is another branch of this plant. But I don't know if you could be able to see, get it past the leaves. I do have an eggplant here. I never grown them before, so I don't really know when it's ready to harvest. It's very small. The nasturtiums I planted back here are done. Like, I don't know what killed them, if it was the heat or what, but like it's still trying to put out flowers, but it's just not doing well. And obviously the weeds are like really taking over. Same for the cosmos. Like, really for the cosmos, I think my biggest problem is like being able to deadhead all of them, because they just put out so many blooms. So like I have to cut off all of these dead heads and hope that they keep producing. This sad looking plant is basil, which I had to cut back for I think the 3rd time, and that one over there is basil too, because it kept crowding out this pepper plant, which is I believe it's my only jalapeno plant. All the rest of my pepper plants are producing different things, so I want to make sure this keeps producing, which obviously it will in the heat. And then on this side I have what I think might be serranos. Like, people online told me they seem like serranos, even though they're really small. They're not long and skinny like cayenne peppers. They're too small to be wax peppers. They're very hot, but the plant's doing really well, and obviously it's producing a lot, so I need to harvest these today. And then this eggplant has actually grown a lot, and it has more flowers, but it also has an eggplant down here. So very, very late to get going, but it's going. Then I don't remember if I posted about this, but I did plant cucumber seeds here to just kind of climb up this pole. This one's really small, not doing awesome. And then I do have one, you're probably not gonna be able to see it. So where's my finger? That stick right there, there is a cucumber plant. You can see the leaves a little bit. I have gotten like 2 little bitty cucumbers and 1 full-size one. They just don't look great. There's actually a bad bug right there. I forgot what it's called, but it's leaf-footed bug, I think. It's bad for the plant, but it's just kind of not doing great, which it was just kind of an experiment to throw some seeds in there and see what happens. So I gotta zoom out a little bit to see all my zinnias. So I got the darker pink zinnias on this side, the lighter pink on this side, and they are taking over. I've had to stake them, especially this one, and I've kept having to cut away because it keeps wanting to grow out into the walkway. And I'm sorry for this background noise, like I'm really close to a post office and they're like doing some construction over there or something, I don't know. But anyway, so the flowers keep wanting to go into the walkway, which obviously the grass needs to be cut, but I think they're avoiding it because plants are spilling out into the walkway. And then my tomatoes are pretty much done. I've actually cut them down. Like I've actually cut the plants, which I need to get rid of that one. I cut them so they could dry up and get all crinkly. This one looks like it wants to grow another tomato. So maybe I didn't cut this one all the way. But either way, in a few weeks, I'm gonna plant turnips in this area. So I'll be taking out all the tomatoes and this basil. So this basil was planted in the midst of the tomatoes and it's actually going to flower now, but you can see it's so tall because I had to get around all the other stuff, which nature's just so cool that way. Like it will find a way. And there's even little tomatoes like trying to hang on and grow. Like the plant will do whatever it takes to get, look at that. That is a tomato hornworm, which is very bad for tomato plants. I probably need to kill this so that it doesn't turn into whatever the adult size of this is. And I feel very lucky that I got my tomatoes going so early that I didn't really deal with pests that much. So yeah, I'm gonna take this guy and I don't know, drown it maybe, but it's because they can decimate whole tomato plants in a day. So this one obviously is not like, it's time to be done. This plant's done anyway, but I don't want to leave this for someone else's plant for it to continue to propagate and destroy someone else's tomatoes. So even though looking around, I feel like a lot of people's tomatoes are pretty much done too. Like it's just that time of year in this area. But let's move to the other bed. So if you'll remember, this side of the bed I planted beans, which the beans are gone because I harvested them last weekend when I got back from vacation, which I didn't film that because it was just so hot. Like I was just trying to hurry up and get done. Like I'll post a picture, and then obviously I'll film when I actually like shell the beans. I have to get them out of their shell, but they have to dry completely. So that's what happened there. And then this is my sweet potatoes, and they obviously look really nice. Like I'm trying to keep them more contained onto this side. Like there are some that have kind of crept over here and they've rooted, but I want to plant my collard greens here and maybe some cabbage. Collards definitely in August. I don't know if I'm going to plant cabbage in August or if I'm going to wait a little bit longer. One cool thing about beans is that they fix nitrogen in the soil. So they, like by planting those first in this spot, and then I'm going to plant greens in this spot directly after. So hopefully the nitrogen fixing from the beans will help the greens, because greens like cabbage, collards, not turnips, but cabbage and collards, they are leafy green vegetables that use a lot of nitrogen. So that supplemental nitrogen in the soil from the beans will hopefully make nice lush green. So stay tuned for that. I'm excited, and I want to plant them now, but it's just, I think it's still too hot. So I'm going to try to give it 3 weeks, maybe a month at the most. But I want to say in Tennessee, I planted collards at the beginning of August, maybe mid-August. So I feel like here, maybe mid-August, maybe beginning of September, but I definitely want to have collards for Thanksgiving. So I'll have to do some plant math and decide when I'm actually going to start the seeds and if I should start them indoors or directly in the soil. Moving on to this other side, which is kind of my herb, and it's going to be my perennial bed. Oh, look at all the butterflies. These are swallowtail butterflies, which I learned that because I Googled it. I can't remember if they're native to North America or not, but they're really pretty, obviously, with the blue and the yellow. Like, it's just so gorgeous. But these flowers, like when I walk up in the morning, there's just butterflies everywhere. Swallowtails, other different kinds that I've Googled. So both on these flowers, which are cone flowers, which are native to North America, and then to my zinnias as well. The marigolds, I didn't mention them on the other side, but they are just going and going. I've had to cut these back multiple times also, both from the aisle and to keep them from crowding out these other plants, which my okra is also a plant that is taking a really long time to get going. Like, people assured me that it would just be the heat. Like, once it got really hot, they would get going, and I feel like they're still like sluggish, like they're not producing. Like, I've gotten one pod, and I have one pod I need to harvest right there, and I have a flower here that's gonna make a pod, but this little plant over here is still, it's about to start producing flowers. So it's been slower than I expected, but I have to make sure that the marigolds don't overcrowd it. But then the other thing that's crowding it, or shading it at least, is the ginger. So I've never planted ginger in the ground, and it is going insane. Like, it's just, because that's what ginger does. You plant the rhizome and then it spreads out underground and sends up more shoots to get more energy to spread some more, and it's just going and going. Like, I'm so excited to harvest this ginger to see how much I got, because I can't even count how many stalks I have. But it created a lot of shade for this little okra plant, which it still is. This one's tall enough, thankfully. But I do need to get some more fish fertilizer to fertilize them, because I think that will help them keep producing. My dahlias are not doing awesome. They have these little blooms. They look yellow on the bottom. I don't really know why. I've had to stake them because they were just flopping over, and they're getting tons of sun. They get, I don't know if it was all the rain we got in this, like earlier this year in June, but it's just, I don't know. They're not doing awesome, but they are kind of pretty, and that's something I could work on maybe for next year. And then for, let's see, I have this bee balm, which I've had to cut back also multiple times because it was overcrowding. It keeps wanting to grow this way into the middle, and I have oregano there, and I want the oregano to be bigger and bushier. And so, like, it's starting to get bigger, but it's not getting as big and bushy as I would like. And I know oregano kind of just creeps like that. So I've had to cut back the lemon balm and the bee balm. And so because I've cut it back so many times, the bee balm hasn't bloomed. It's supposed to have these flowers that are really cool looking. So maybe I'll get that next year, but all of this stuff should come back next year. So when the cold comes, it'll die back. I'll need to harvest it, and then it'll come back next year, which is what I wanted for this bed in particular. The coneflowers, they're doing great. Coneflowers, echinacea. So this is also, I say my perennial bed, but this is also, I want it to somewhat be a medicinal bed. So I have my sage, bee balm, thyme, lemon balm. All of these are like culinary herbs, but they can also be used medicinally. Rosemary, lavender, and for coneflower / echinacea, you can harvest the roots to make the medicinal part of what you would take for like a cold or something. But from what I've read, you have to wait until it's like second year roots. So since I planted these this year, I don't know if I could harvest roots this year for medicinal purposes. I might have to wait till next year. And see, there's another moth / butterfly. It's been so cool to watch all of these. One thing about echinacea / coneflower is the leaves are massive. Like, it's as big as my hand. They're huge. And because they're native, they do really well in the climate, and like they don't get, like they can handle the heat and the all the rain and stuff. And let's see, I have a lavender over there. Oh, can't see it. Why is it not focusing? I have a lavender over there and I have a lavender here. I wanted to have two because when I had one before, I felt guilty harvesting the lavender because the bees love it so much. So I wanted to have two, one for me and one for the bees. And of course they're really small now, but they will spread and get bigger. They'll start to produce more, and I may rethink my strategy and not put ginger here next year so it doesn't crowd out as much. And then same for the rosemary. Like I want this to get really big, and so I'm hoping this does really well over winter. Some of my plot neighbors have huge rosemary, so I know it's possible to get a bigger plant of this. There's another marigold. And so I need to water these beds real quick, and then I need to head over to the other garden because I didn't go to either one today. So I need to, oh, I forgot to mention my little watering things. So I went on vacation a couple weeks ago, and it was good. It was obviously going to be hot, and there was rain in the forecast a little bit, but I wanted to give an extra insurance policy to make sure that the plants wouldn't get too dry. So I used my watering stakes that I've used in the past for my containers, and I used these gallon jugs from Costco, which I did not use purified water for them. These are jugs that we just had left over that I filled with water, cut off the little handle because these all come with a handle on them, and just stuck it in there, and it's actually been working really well. So I haven't been here since Monday, but like this one still has water in it. And let's see, that one's empty. That one has a little bit of water in it. That one's empty. That one has a ton of water in it. Okay, so I just have a few I need to fill up, and I'm just gonna kind of spot water, and then I'll head over to the other garden. I was over here watering, and I just happened to look and I see a cucumber. So I'm gonna harvest this and hopefully get to make some cucumber and onion salad. Dun, 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 dun. So unfortunately these zinnias are getting a little too top heavy, even though I've tried to stake them. It looks like they've broke, and it had to have been recently because the blooms still look really nice. Like I could probably salvage that one and use it for a vase. Okay, well, the update about this bed is I ripped out all the tomatoes before I went on vacation, and I planted pumpkins. So I planted some right there, and they have not sprouted, and it's been 2.5 weeks, or no, a week and a half. And I think a critter might have gotten them because they are definitely chipmunks. I've seen chipmunks running around in here. And then the other ones I planted here, which obviously they are sprouting, so the seeds are good. So I did plant some at home in a container, like in a little pot, so I could transplant in case I didn't get another one, because I want 2 plants. And looks like there are 2 plants growing right here, but I'm going to sacrifice one, maybe. I don't know. Let me think about this. I'll think about it for a little bit and decide what I'm gonna do. So all the tomatoes were kind of just in the center with the basil and everything around it, and they were done, so it was just time to get rid of them. Oh, it looks like I have another zinnia over here that's broken. Marigolds, once again, just spilling over. I've had to cut back that one once already, so I may have to cut it back again. I have more marigolds over here. But then these zinnias, these are my favorite ones. These two plants, because they're just growing the most beautiful, full double blooms. And there's so many, like because I have one that was like my first one that grew really perfect and I was so proud of it, but then they just keep coming and coming and I just love them so much. So thankfully it looks like there's lots of pink blooms here on the part of the plant that's still up. So I will cut these away, try to salvage the ones I can for a vase at home. And like I said, basil there that it's just been between the tomatoes and I just left it. I do have another jalapeno plant. So this one is growing lots of little jalapenos. I want to make some hot sauce, so I'm hoping that does well. And then I have a cayenne pepper over here that's getting kind of unwieldy, but I do have some I need to harvest down here. I like to dry the cayennes and have them just be dry so I can use them for different things. I do have a pepper plant here that was a late start, like a late goer, that has lots of flowers. I don't know what kind of pepper plant it is because they all got mixed up. There's also one here that I don't know what kind it is. I'm gonna be swimming in peppers in a few weeks. And then I have this one, which these are wax peppers. These are one of the kinds that I did grow, which I grew them before in pots and they did really well, but they were also just a late to get going. And then this is also a pepper. I don't know what kind it is. I won't know until it starts to grow. This is a stevia plant, which I did harvest, and oh, another pepper. This one looks like serrano. They're kind of, I don't know, maybe jalapeno. I don't think it's serrano though. So I have harvested stevia and made it into an extract, and I did not like it. It tasted like licorice, which didn't, it was very sweet, but it tasted like licorice, which did not go well with coffee. So I may try again. It's very persistent. It keeps wanting to spread this way and crowd out the pepper plants. I had cosmos here, which it's still here. It gets spread out a little bit, but I guess I didn't deadhead enough here. It's just kind of hard for this plot because, well, they're laying down now, but when these are really tall, they shade out my plot in the morning. So that kind of sucks. But I do have the biggest, what do you call it? Variety of zinnias at this plot, because it was just a mixed packet of different kinds. So I have pink they have some blooms that are not double, and then some that are a little bit lighter than the ones that are over there. I have white and yellow, which they're not the big fat blooms, but they're still really pretty and very bright, and I love them. So let me do some watering and clean up these flowers that are flopping over. Oh. I feel really lucky that I live in an area with such a long growing season. Like, yes, it's extremely hot right now, and it stays hot for a long time in the summer, but I do enjoy having a lot of flexibility. So like online, I see on Reddit and the different gardening groups I'm in, I see posts where people are just now getting tomatoes, and because they live in areas where it's colder and they have to get a later start, they don't have the same weather, and I really like that I'm able to grow more stuff for longer. So it's like Lammas time, it's harvest time, but I also feel like I still have a long way to go. This garden doesn't have watering hoses, so I'll have to use watering cans. And it's hard to do that with one hand and hold my phone at the same time. So thanks for hanging in there with me.
Lughnasadh is the halfway point between the summer solstice and the fall equinox. It's an ancient Celtic festival where they would celebrate the first harvest, specifically of wheat. And when Ireland was Christianized, they started celebrating Lammas, which is loaf mass. So baking bread is a common tradition and practice, and it's a time to give thanks. So we think about the fall as being time for Thanksgiving, and that's because our ancestors would give thanks literally for their harvest and celebrate the abundance of this time of the year. And for me, there's no better way to do that than to partake in baking bread, which I don't really bake bread throughout the year, but now is a good time for me personally because I like to connect to that part of my history. As I knead the dough, I think of intentions I want to shape in my own life. Things like patience, creativity, and trust in the process. Things I'm always working on, it seems. And it's not just baking. I obviously do not know what I'm doing at this point because, like I said, I don't bake bread that often, but it's something about the practice of doing it that feels magical.